দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি চ্যানেল 24 এর নিয়মিত আয়োজন মুখোমুখিতে। মুখোমুখিতে প্রতি পর্বে আমার সাথে কোনো না কোনো একজন বিশেষ অতিথি থাকে, তার সাথে আমরা সেই বিশেষ আলোচনাগুলো করে থাকি। আজকে আমাদের সাথে তেমন একজন বিশেষ অতিথি আছে। আমাদের সাথে আছেন ইউরোপীয় ইউনিয়নের ইনভেস্টমেন্ট ব্যাংকের ভাইস প্রেসিডেন্ট নিকোলা বেয়ার। Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Is it your first visit in Bangladesh?
Yes, it's my first occasion to come to Bangladesh, but it was very inspiring. I really loved to be here, and I hope to come back soon.
I hope so. So, what brings you to Dhaka? What brings you to New Bangladesh?
We came because we have a long-standing relationship to this country. Bangladesh is the third power in the region after India and China, but especially because of the new situation in the country. So the reform agenda of the interim government, which is extremely important, I think, for the future of this country. We had very insightful discussions with several of the advisors, and especially also with the chief advisor, Dr. Yunus. And this made us being reassured that the country is on the right track, that the will is very, very ambitious to bring these reforms to a good success, that we have a very huge overlap. Not only on the principles of democracy, rule of law, and the protection of citizens and human rights, but also on the projects which we can support to strengthen Bangladesh and its way for the future.
And you are assured with the commitment from the chief advisor in the process, right?
Yes, I think he has really a special role.
So how long was the meeting, and what are the major key issues you discussed, if you want to bring that on?
Yes,
on the table?
to be sure, I didn't look on the watch how long it was, but we had really enough time to discuss. It was a very open, very friendly, very sympathetic atmosphere, and I think we openly discussed the huge challenges you have now in this country, because it's quite clear this is a very special situation.
Yes.
After this uprise, which at the end luckily was quite peaceful, after this willingness of your citizens, especially the young people, the students, to fight for their future, to fight for rule of law, democracy, fair and free elections, which is really the basic of a prosperity of a country. And now this challenge for Dr. Yunus and its interim government to deliver on structural reforms in a very short time. I mean, 1 year, 1.5 years.
Yes.
To reform a country, this is really huge. And so he needs really every support he can get. And European Union, and also we as the financial arm, as European Investment Bank, as the financial arm of the European Union, we just were there also to reassure that we will back this way forward through the reforms on the basis of democracy and rule of law, to bring Bangladesh and especially its people to a better future.
How are you going to do this, act as a backup plan? I mean, how? Is it financially help? Is it by projects? Is it, I'm not sure about the loans. How are you going to do the backup?
I mean, it has to come together.
Okay.
Of course, it is funding, so it's a financial financing of projects.
Right.
But these projects do not only come when we are involved with money, but also with expertise, with technical assistance. So in the way we implement projects, we also implement good governance structures. For example, for procurement. And this is something which is extremely important if you want to give international investors the certainty that in this country there is a rule of law and not somebody just deciding by friendship or by family. And so we help also by expertise, by training, by implementing and helping to implement good governance structures. We help the whole country to roll out these standards which are important for modern democracy.
Right. I've seen that there will be like 6 projects, and by that 6 projects, your bank is about to give us around 1 billion euro loan. How long is that, and how it is going to be given, like in different projects, right? 6 or 7 projects.
Yes, these are all long-running projects, and I think this is important for a country which has really to struggle to come forward. We have a vibrant country, you are really having an amazing growth,
Right.
But of course it is always difficult, especially when we see your revenue rate from the tax system, then to go for debt. And the loan is a debt. And so we try to adapt also to the borrower, like the Bangladesh country, so to make it possible to go with the milestones of a project, to get the loan in tranches, and also that to prepay the loan is possible from what you get also then from the project. Because you often
Right.
have also revenues from a transport project or a water project. At the end, the part of our advice is also to structure the financing so that it is appropriate to the borrower. So we are now heavily engaged. You already mentioned nearly up to 1 billion of commitments. These are projects, especially in the water sector, in the sector of renewable energy, but also transport. This is important to have a sound infrastructure for privates,
Right.
but also for entrepreneurs. And you need this coming together to have this infrastructure to bring them in a position to really use their full potential to work for this country.
You also met the finance advisor, deputy governor of Bangladesh Bank, and the foreign advisor. So what are the issues you've been discussed, and what expertise as a help they asked from you?
There were different issues. I mean, especially with the financial advisor, it was important to discuss the priorities of the government against the background also of the reform agenda. Do we have to adapt? Is there a refocus? But we saw that we are really on track. And there is the possibility to even double our commitment in this country.
Wow.
We have some...
How? How's that?
Yeah, by new projects in the pipeline. And we discussed what is needed to bring these already discussed pipelines to success, pipeline projects to a success. So that it could be possible to have several signings of new projects already this year. And we just discussed what is now needed to bring it to a final signature. Also with the foreign advisor, it was about the development of this country. It was a lot about interconnectivity. So
Right.
the situation in the region with your neighbors,
Yes.
and how you can balance out the situation. Against the background that you have smaller neighbors like Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, but of course also the very big one with India.
And Myanmar.
And it
That's
is,
our
and this is in the interest, I think, of both of us, Bangladesh and also European Union, to install good relationship, to have common projects which secure the interconnectivity of energy transport and also water management, because this will be a win-win situation for everybody. European Union, also we as a bank with our counterparts in these other countries are eager to help and to support. And this is also sometimes for the sake of some of our other projects.
Right.
For example, when I see our hydropower projects in Nepal,
Yes.
they would love to deliver more of the renewable energy here to Bangladesh. Bangladesh needs this to get its climate ambition. There we have, we try to foster that it will be possible to bring the Indians on board, and this is in a common interest, I think.
I'm not sure about Indians. They are not agreed for last several years to come on board on this.
I know that for the moment there is only smart delivery, but there can be more. And I got it really, especially from the discussion with the chief advisor, Dr. Yunus, that he is really willing to bring it to a better atmosphere. And I think at the end, it is in the interest of all sides. to have a good relationship in the region. And I saw the willingness of this government really to work on this.
Okay, but there's a challenge as well.
Of course, there is a challenge, but I mean, this is always, and what is the alternative to lose? To lose opportunities, to lose prosperity of this country. And so I think the most important is that neighbors treat each other on equal footing, with respect, and in the interest of everybody, so that everybody wins and nobody loses.
Right. Just someday this part of the world can act as the EU, like maybe.
Of course you could. I mean, it is inspiring to see so many countries really also being very vibrant. And this is also due to your very young generation.
It is
but then you have to give your young generation also perspectives for the future here in the country and in the region. And this was another topic we discussed with the foreign advisor, because he is very eager and think he's right so, to bring opportunities for younger people, whether this is in the country or whether this is also with exchanges for studies or for vocational training, and then coming back with the expertise and knowledge. And I think this is what partnership, what friendship is about. It's sharing of knowledge, it's sharing of technology, and it's building up together a better future.
Right. So another question comes into my mind. When you met the foreign advisor and the finance advisor and the deputy governor, did they ask any help or coordination from EU as you can bring some smuggled money back or freeze their asset in different EU countries?
This was not the topic, but what for us was important, that the country, especially also the central bank, is working on that. But nevertheless, the situation in the banking sector now is stable, because I mean, we also took notice that there were some problems with part of the banks, but the governor obviously with its team could fix more or less the situation. And this is a very important signal also for investors. And also by our visit now, by the reassurance that we not only continue with the ongoing projects, but that we are also standing ready for even doubling our investment, I think is a very good signal for other investors to come. Because you have the opportunity really to do very good business here, quality projects, and for us, it's important to choose quality projects with really support all people, especially when it comes to lower income part of the society, but with a good quality drinking water, with decarbonized public transport, or with renewable energies, which help to produce in a sustainable green way, so that you can export also in future times your products to the common market in the European Union. I think we choose in common with your government exactly the right project.
Maybe I have more questions to ask you. So the first one is, you visited all your projects and within short notice of time. What did you get and how do you think they're performing?
We visited the Dhaka water project. This is a new water plant for water treatment, but also an intake of water from the Megham river down to the water treatment. And it was really amazing, in which high quality this was implemented. It's nearly finished, so we hope to have a launch to open the tap for the drinking water, to be visually speaking, in mid of this year. And this then will bring water in a really good drinking quality for a third of the inhabitants of Dhaka city. So this will serve about 6 million people.
Wow.
And I think this is very important.
Of course it is.
Of course, we were also discussing maybe other projects to come, because, of course, if you serve one third, you want also to serve the rest. There are other projects with also other development partners ongoing, and to close the circle then will be part of the discussion for the months to come.
Right. As you've been roaming around in Dhaka, you probably have witnessed the smoke. It's very dark. It's not like, I mean, if you look at India, Delhi, Nepal, and then Dhaka, they all are smoked areas. So it's definitely a big issue. How you and your organization can help us to get rid of this by, building capacity, and Of course, it's a part of climate change, which is undeniable.
Yes, and it's a part of the question how you produce what you produce.
Right.
And to fight climate change also by having new technologies, for example, for the brick production,
Yes.
which is part of this air pollution problem, by decarbonizing the
Clean energy.
transport sector, by having renewable energy instead of using coal or oil, so all what is fossil is part of this. I think that the country can have a little bit huger ambition when it comes to ramp up the decarbonization of the country. But of course, we are also here to offer support because we know that this is a very demanding topic. And for all societies, not only in Bangladesh, this is true also for all the European countries, to change your habit is always demanding for the citizens. So you have to reassure them that afterwards the situation will be better. But this also means to make clear that not to act will come with costs. So no decision costs, as we call it, are costs you totally lose the money. So it's better to really act sooner than later. And we try to support with expertise, with technical assistance, but also then with the finance.
And did you find the commitment in the discussion with the advisor of climate change?
Yes, absolutely. She is really brilliant in this part. Of course, if you have so short time in an interim government, you have to prioritize. I took note that this was done especially on the plastic question, so that you do not have this plastic pollution anymore, and that you find other alternatives which you might even export, like in the youth business. Then I see a lot of will, especially in the garment sector.
Yes.
When it comes up, for example, for recycling, we have projects in this part of the business, and I see a lot of front runners from your entrepreneurs and enterprises in this field. And I think this is something which then can be replicated, because often there is a part just looking what others are doing, but if they prove that it works out, then they can easily go in the same way. And I think this is the right moment now to speed up a little bit on this, because this is not only very important for your country here, this will be extremely important to fulfill the European regulations, which will be in place up from 27. And so this is for you, the precondition to export also to the European Union.
Right, we have to be ready. We have to be ready, right? So one of the projects you work on is a COVID public health program. Have you got any time to visit or talk to the people?
We have to talk. We talked about this, of course, with the Ministry of Finance, with the financial advisor. We didn't have the time to visit anything, but I think here the most important is now to find the allocation for the money in the loan. So the framework of the loan is quite flexible, because the first discussion were during the COVID period, and now this is over. But to use it for the sake of the health system, I think, is important, and we are now in the phase to look, to analyze for the best projects under this common framework.
Yeah, we are almost about to end the show now. I have a very, just a question that came to mind, that you met all the high authorities, and did you find the commitment on the protecting the human rights of the people, for the good governance and for the better future? Because the reason why the ex-Prime Minister had to hide herself and had to flee, because she was extremely bad at human rights. There's a question of disappearance. There was no politics and democracy. And did you find these commitments among these top advisors when you talked about, and when they're reforming and to bring a new nation, especially in the country where the youth is the highest number as a population?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, this is the reason why they are in office for the moment. And this is not a normal situation. This is quite a special situation to have a government which was not elected. But you had this uprising, and it was very fortunately that it was at the end peaceful, because there, as I took note, were quite critical situations in the street for a certain moment. But then very good decisions were made to bring it to a peaceful ending in having this interim government. You are very lucky to have with Dr. Yunus a chief advisor, which is not only well appreciated in this country, but really well known all over the globe. So he can use its networks from former times. He can use his personality and his will, and also his capability to organize here for the sake of this country, to deliver his service to his nation. And this will help to get this huge challenge to a good end. I mean, if you look on it from outside, the big question is what will be after this interim government.
Right.
Because now you are on a very good trip for stabilizing democracy, protecting rule of law and human rights. But of course, everybody is asking, okay, can they fulfill, can they stabilize in a way which cannot be reversed easily? What is then with the next elected government? Will they really guarantee us that this pathway is then followed in the future? And I think this is something this country has to answer, that on the base of the recommendation of the working groups for the reforms, now really make clear that this country, independently from the next and the afterwards following governments, will stay in this track of a modern democracy. And this is, as I understood it, what the students, what the youth in this country was fighting for. This is what is the will of this government, and I can only call for the whole citizenship to support this way for a better future.
And it also, and then the responsibility lies on the political parties, I believe.
Yes, but I mean, at the end, also politicians is a service for a nation. And maybe this is really to come back to this principle, that being a politician is not having power for itself and for my personal interest, but being a politician is, as I understand it, is really something to use the power I'm given for a certain time by the citizens to use it for the best sake of the biggest number of my nation. And this is important. And if this is a common understanding, if you are successful in bringing all the camps together behind some very important principles, then you can fight on certain projects, on different opinions of certain questions. Then you always will find a solution. And then it's a competition in between different parties. The voter is then deciding. But the most important is that you are not having two fighting, really revenging camps, but you're building up a nation on the consensus of some of the most important principles. And I found in my discussion that the leadership, especially under the guidance of the chief advisor, Dr. Yunus, is really on this track.
Good to know. It's a really good way, way to end the show. Thank you so much for coming to the
It was a pleasure not only to be here in your show, it was really a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much. I hope the way you're helping out Bangladesh, it would go on and doubling the project, tripling the project maybe someday. Sure.
Yeah, we can work on this. Happy to come back and then we do another show and we can announce it.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much and have a safe flight back to home.
Thank you.
Thank you. দর্শক, আমরা আলোচনা করছিলাম কিভাবে ইউরোপ আমাদেরকে সহযোগিতা করতে পারে। সবশেষে এটুকুই বলতে চাই, উনি যেটা বললেন যে প্রতিশোধমূলক কোনো রাজনীতি যে কোনো দেশকে আসলে পিছিয়ে দেয়। সেখানে তরুণরা যে ইন্সপিরেশন নিয়ে বাংলাদেশকে নতুন বাংলাদেশ দিয়েছে, সেই জায়গায় সকলকে একসাথে কাজ করতে হবে। তিনি আশা করেন বাংলাদেশে সেটা পারবে। দেখা হবে মুখোমুখির অন্য কোনো পর্বে। তার আগ পর্যন্ত ভালো থাকুন, সুস্থ থাকুন।